I want to welcome you to our committee and to compliment you on your work over the years in different roles, both in Stormont and in Westminster. Can I just say, with regard to the last point that Niall made and that you responded to in regard to legacy issues, of course, one proposed by the British government in regard to the legacy issues has united all political parties in Northern Ireland, all civic groups and all public opinion here in our state as well. It was absolutely deplorable proposals and a really step back to the worst possible days, I would have thought, and you'd expect better from a parliamentary democracy than to come up with a system that would literally grant some people the right to grant immunity to themselves for horrific deeds, whether that was paramilitaries or state forces. It's absolutely reprehensible. Could I just say, you mentioned about trauma being intergenerational, transgenerational. We had very good engagement with Wave Trauma. And that was the point they made to all of us in regard to the second and third generation now, where there hasn't been justice. And if you take Oliver McVeigh the other day, in regard to the search that's underway in Bragganbog and in County Monaghan for his late brother Columba, he made the point, we're not out just for vengeance, we're out to get a body restored and to have a Christian burial. And so I think those type of comments, those people show great grace and dignity in dealing with obviously very, very difficult situations. Could I say, with regard to the workings of every parliamentary democracy, their system has its defects and faults. Our own has too. But I think since the Brexit debate started, and even before the referendum in 2016, this Oireachtas, our two houses and all its committees devoted enormous time to working on the Brexit issue. We had engagement every day of the week, literally, with parliamentarians from Britain and from other countries in Europe too, who wanted to hear our viewpoints in regard to Brexit and the difficulties it could cause if Britain exited the European Union. So I have to say, our parliamentary democracy worked extremely well in that respect, our Dáil and Shannon, and in supportive of the government. And in that debate, there was never antagonism shown from the Irish side to the British side. We were outlining very cogently and quite rightly our concerns that have come to pass as well. So I think it's very important in that respect. And of course, there were many parliamentarians from Westminster who shared the same view as ourselves as well. Michelle mentioned about the lack of a civic forum. That was within the competence of Stormont, to my recollection. I remember speaking to some of the people who participated in the short-lived one from trade unions and other civic bodies, that they found the workings of that very, very beneficial. And it's a shame that it hasn't been re-established in a different format or whatever, to give civic society additional voices apart from the political representation that they have. With regard to winning support for the political institutions and for politics in general, is there not a greater focus needed, both from Stormont and from Westminster, in regard to trying to improve the lot of people in the disadvantaged communities? Because if we're to put an end to all types of violence and that, we need to ensure that people get the opportunity to have a good education, training, skills, and hopefully go on to gainful employment. I think is the best way to engage people in a democracy and engage people in the political process. Thank you, Lord Alderdice.